Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about When a Stranger Calls, a 2006 remake. This is known as a horror thriller psychological movie. However, it's rated PG-13. How you gonna do horror at PG-13? That's very difficult. They need to be that of an R rating. This is a remake of the same movie that came out in I believe 78? No, 79. And I remember I watched this on YouTube many years ago. It's just an okay movie. It's not great, it's not spectacular, but it's not entirely terrible. It's just an okay movie. I can take it for what it is. But there needed to be more than just suspense. And that's all this movie is. It's suspense. There's no real horror. It's just a threat. It shouldn't even be categorized in a horror genre or a slasher genre, because that's not really what it is. Now, I've never seen the 1979 movie. However, after I watched this, they had that also on YouTube back in the day. So I decided to check it out. After the first 20 minutes was over, it went to something completely different. I was like very shocked and confused because I had never seen the 1979 movie before, but I had only seen the 2006 one first. From what I've understood, the 2006 remake just took the first 20 minutes of the original movie and made a feature movie out of that. That's pretty ballsy. And in all honesty, it could have worked. The reason why it didn't work the way people wanted to, because one, they wanted a full remake, and they did not get that. And I still don't even know what happened in the rest of the other movie. I just stopped watching it because I was confused and I was just like irritated at that time. I do plan on finding it and watching it and stuff. Hopefully the God is still on YouTube. I'm hoping it is, but you know how YouTube is. But see, here's the thing about the remake. It's dull and it's boring. Like, it's only suspenseful because you're waiting for the killer to show up. You're waiting for the premise of what this movie is about. Now, the movie is based off of urban legend folklore. And so it's about these teenage girls are home alone with a bunch of kids, and the kids are upstairs and they don't attend to them. The teenage girl is either eating food, on the phone, watching TV, or whatever, or having her boyfriend over. And she neglects the kids. And it's kind of like, well, you need to check on the kids because something could happen. That's that old folklore. And they made a movie based off that years ago. And in this one. Now, I believe if they would have added in some horror elements, some slasher elements, or somebody dying, that would have been so much better. Because here's the thing. You can make a movie off the premise of just that 20 minutes. You really can. And you can put it into a full-length feature. But you gotta have something that's gonna make people be like, oh my God. This movie does not have a oh my God factor. It has a very dull factor. It's basically just a teen movie where some crazy dude sneaks into the house and tries to kill everybody for whatever reason. So this movie misses the mark big time. It should never call itself a horror genre. It should never have been a remake of the original. And if you're going to do that, you need people dying. You need to see blood. You need to see something other than a girl getting chased. Now, there is trauma in this movie and everything because the girl is psychologically damaged at the end of this movie. In fact, the director, many years from now in 2020, he said he would love to make a sequel, and he's trying to pitch one where the actress is now, or the character is all grown up, and she's living in a psych ward because she is traumatized. We see that at the end of the movie. I like that end of the movie where she's traumatized. It really messed with her mind. Now, one thing the director did is he tried to give backstory to this character. And that's something you should always do with your final girl. You should always give them some type of backstory, either why the killer is after them or something in their life that causes them to be affected. Here, it's just a random girl. So we really don't need backstory because it's just a random killer and a random girl. She's not the true real focus point of the movie, like say Sydney or like Laurie and stuff like that. or Julie. And so, like, because of that, it kind of defeats that purpose. But for whatever reason, the director decided, all right, fine, we're gonna give some backstory to, like, this one character. Now, Simon West is the person who directed this movie, and it was written by Jake Wade Wall. Why does Simon West sound so familiar? But it stars Camilla Bell. She was in Push. She was also the little girl in the second Jurassic Park movie in the beginning who get like attacked by like the dinosaurs and stuff like that. And so, okay, Simon West did the Lara Croft Tomb Raider. He did Con Air. He did Never Gonna Give Up. Okay. So yeah, he has some the Expendables 2, The Mechanic. So he has some stuff like backing him, but yeah, he just failed to deliver in terms of gore or slashery stuff like that. And it also stars Tessa Thompson. I had no idea that was her when I saw her in that. And so, but she has a small role. Also, it stars, from the Thor movies. And also it has Katie Cassidy, Black Canary from the Arrowverse. And it has Clark Gregg in there from, Agent Coulson. So it has 2 MCU stars and 1 DC star. That's insane. And so the movie did make its budget, but like barely, you know what I'm saying? It didn't make that much like they wanted to. So it had moderate success, but it was panned by critics, and I know why. Like, it just did not live up to the original, but it is a nice psychological thriller because the movie is built on suspense. That is the main focus of the movie. So as long as it's suspenseful, it kept me engaged. That's why I own it on DVD. Now, going through the movie really isn't even going to take that long. Basically, it's the story is set up. There's a girl who's in high school. She's on the track team. So this is part of the backstory he gave for her. And the girl name is Jill. And so Jill, well, actually, it starts off before that. The stranger. He's just some guy. He went into a town nearby hers, and he killed a bunch of kids with his bare hands. And so the sheriff goes in there, and the sheriff is terrified of what he saw. The killer didn't even have to use a weapon. We don't know what it looks like, but there's body bags of different body parts. So this man is brutally strong, kind of like a Mike Myers type thing. But this dude literally rips people apart with his bare hands. That's a little too silly. He needs a weapon. But anyway, so the girl, Jill, she is at school. She's on the track team. And so, like, she's running and all this other stuff. She has her friend, played by Tessa Thompson, and they asking her, are you going to forgive your boyfriend? Are you going to forgive your other best friend? And are you going to, like, the bonfire thing? She says she's grounded because she went over her cell phone minutes. Yes, back in those days when you had like a certain plan, you go over those minutes, you're screwed up. Oh, I remember those days. And so what happened basically was this. Her boyfriend cheated on her by kissing her best friend. And so she doesn't want to talk to neither one of them. And the best friend's all like, oh, forgive me, blah, blah, blah. That's the Cassidy character and stuff. And so basically her parents tell her, since you went over your minutes and everything, you're getting stuck with this babysitting job. So she's driven by her father out in the middle of nowhere in the woods on this beautiful, like, mountainside type, cliff type, like a house and everything out in the woods. It's a big mansion. It's great. There's also a smaller house where the stepson lives at. So the parents and everything, they're like rich, they're fancy, they have these giant windows with no curtains, but then you can pull the curtains, but basically somebody can see inside you. I never like houses like that. That's always like freaked me out. Like, cover up your, like, you don't want people looking inside, like, your home and stuff like that. And so, like, I forgot the little girl who plays in it. I think she's famous. I think she was in The Haunting Hour. Madeline Carroll. I think she was in The Haunting Hours. Anyway. They tell her, make yourself at home, eat whatever you want. So she's there, and basically that's all the movie is. It's just her sitting in this giant house, walking around the house, and going through these people's stuff, the jewelry, putting on the jewelry, eating the popsicle. She eats the popsicle just like in the original. But also the only other person there is the maid. And so she's about doing her thing. So you rarely see the maid. And we never see the stepson living in his home. And so, like, of course she's there and she's getting called by, like, her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, and she doesn't want to talk to him. And then she starts getting a call from somebody. Whoever this somebody is a stranger. He doesn't say nothing. It freaks her out. She's just a teenage girl and everything. And so she's getting these strange phone calls. So of course she's getting freaked out because somebody's pulling a prank. She calls her other best friend, played by Tessa, and she's all like, is what's his face there? Is somebody like pranking me? And so the ex-boyfriend is all like, oh, I'm gonna do right by finding out who might be pranking you, blah 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 blah, and stuff like that. So in a way, she's just there in the house, and she checks on the kids one time, and the house is big, and everything's controlled by like remote controls, and so at some point, the stranger just keeps on calling. Well, at some point, the Cassidy character shows up, and she's all like, I have tequila, and she's all like, look, I ain't talking to you, we ain't friends no more. And so like she's all like, oh, you know how alcohol does to me, it makes me flirty and everything. And she said there's no excuse. So basically she leaves, and when she leaves, the character that Katie Cassidy is playing, she's walking out to her car, but something's, I think, blocking her, like a tree branch is blocking her way. She tries to like move it, but she hears noises, and all of a sudden somebody runs up to her, and then we don't know what happens. It's the killer, but we don't even get to see her dying off screen. So then the killers, like the strangers, like calling her some more, so it's freaking her out. So at the point in time, she believes somebody's in the house because she's hearing some strange noises. She calls the police, and the police is all like, just calm down. It's probably somebody pulling a prank on you. And then so like she thinks, okay, fine, whatever. It's probably just a prank. But then he calls again. He actually talks, and she's all like, what do you want from me? He's all like, to see you covered in blood or some crap like this. So it really freaks her out. So she's covering up the windows with the curtains. She's turning the lights out. She's calling the police. She is terrified now. And she's all like, he can see me, but she don't know how. She don't know where he is and stuff. And so, so at some point in time that she's like freaking out, it's getting really intense. Like you're really like starting to like worry and everything. And so she thinks it might, she sees like the light come on at the house that's far away. It could be the stepbrother. So she locks up the door. She takes the phone, and the police officer said you need to trace the call, so keep him on the phone talking. But she's all like, he doesn't stay on the phone for that long. But he said just talk to him and everything. So at some point she runs to like the other house. And she runs through the woods like really fast. And this is part of the backstory that the director said. He wanted to show that she's very athletic and can run really fast. So that's why he had her at the track at high school. You didn't really have to show that. We don't really need that backstory. That's just stupid and pointless and everything. They could have added in some horror, some gore or something like that, So, I mean, come on. It's just a teenage person. She's slim. We know she can run. So they didn't have to show the backstory of her at track. So anyway, she goes to the other house. Nobody's there. She's using that phone. He now calls that phone. She's getting the phones mixed up. And so she doesn't know exactly where the calls are coming from. But then, of course, the cops are like, the calls are coming from in the house. So she's even more freaked out. And so she's looking for like, the maid, and the maid is now dead. And so she goes to check on the kids, and bam, they are not there. They are missing. She don't know where they're at. And she sees the killer up in like some type of like, kind of like an attic type thing. And then so now she's really freaked out. She finds the kids and she hides them and everything. And she tells them to get ready to run. So she's trying to like, running around outside, through the house, in the house, all kinds of different places. It's a huge house of a maze to try to like lure the killer away from like the kids. So then of course the kids take off running. It's a huge pursuit. And the killer comes very close to grabbing her a couple of times and does grab her. He grabs her hair. It gets caught in the door. She rips her hair as hard as she can to rip her hair. And so, like, it's ripping off her skull and everything. And she's trying to do everything she can to avoid him. she remembers certain things in the house, like the remote control. So she's turning on the fire really loud, the music really loud to like disturb him. And so she's trying to make it out, but he's grabbing on to her. So it's kind of a fight and struggle. She grabs the like picker out the fireplace and she stabs him in the hand with it and stuff. The kids made their way outside already while she was fighting with the stranger. So she busts through the door, running outside, looking for the kids, and boom, here comes the cop grabbing her. It's all like, it's all right, we're gonna get him and everything. She's traumatized, she's hard, she doesn't want to look at the cops, she's like screaming. The cops go in, they nab him and everything. When everything's all safe, the kids are safe, and the cops are all like, we got him and everything, and blah, blah, blah. She looks at him, and he just has this huge scar on his face, and he's very disturbing looking and everything. And they all like, don't worry, we have guards around the hospital. They have tranquilizers and everything. They can put down a rhinoceros. And then she's all like, oh, it's not enough, and blah, blah. So then this is where the interesting ending comes to. She's laying in the hospital bed and everything. She's been injured and stuff from like the killer. And so like, she wakes up and she's walking around. She can't find nobody. So she's walking around the hospital. She comes back in her room, closes the door. The killer's behind the door. He goes to grab at her. She freaks out, wakes up. She's in her bed and she is panicking. She had like a nightmare. She is traumatized by this. The doctor's trying to calm her down. Her parents are trying to calm her down. She is beyond freaked out. I can feel that vibe, She did a great job of freaking out. The ending is really just what sold it for me and everything. She is messed up in the head. Because think about it. She's just a teenage girl in high school. This strange killer somehow snuck into like this giant house and chased her around and tried to kill her and everything. You would be freaked out too. So this, of course, is what the director wants to build off of, making a sequel. But if he's gonna do that, then he needs to have some horror and more than just suspense and psychological trauma and everything. I wouldn't mind seeing a sequel, but it needs to be more. It really needs to be more than just that. This killer really needs to come back after her and for whatever reason and have an actual motive. And if he doesn't have a motive, then we need to see his backstory as to him killing more like people and why he only goes after kids and stuff like that. So it's not a great horror movie. I don't even consider it horror. I don't consider it slasher. I just consider it for what it is, a psychological thriller of a ride, you know what I'm saying? And she is pretty jacked up in the head at the end of the movie. Now, wasn't that spooky? All right, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.